Hello there, boxing fans around the world. Thank you once again for joining us on TalkinFight for another episode where we look at the Olympics, in particular boxing events at the Olympics. And right now we're looking at day 4 of the competition that's underway, showing us some results now as we move in towards the quarterfinals. But before we go down there and have a look at the results, you can't ignore the headlines. And of course, whether it's the outfits that the women are wearing or forced to wear at these competitions, or the youngsters who are coming out of nowhere to win certain events. The major headline, I'd have to say, topping my particular inbox today would be the one where we find someone pulling a Mike Tyson and deciding to try and bite the ear off his opponent in the boxing ring. Let me give you the details here. This is a boxing match featuring Morocco's Younes Bala and New Zealand's David Naika. Now, the New Zealand boxer went on to win this fight 5-0, against Bala's. But obviously, Bala did not fare too well. Naika is a two-time Commonwealth Games gold medalist and had won the first 2 rounds with ease and constantly troubled Bala with his pinpoint jabs during the contest at the Kokugenkan Arena, where the Japanese sumo wrestlers typically compete. But anyway, the 22-year-old Bala lost his cool and attempted to bite his opponent's ear off during a hold in round 3, but a shocked Naika managed to pull out in time. Afterwards, Naika was quite surprised that the referee had missed the incident and said basically he didn't get a full mouthful. Luckily, he had his mouth guard in, and I was a bit sweaty. I don't remember what I said to him, but I gave him a little bit of cheek. I've been bitten once before on the chest at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games, but come on, man, this is the Olympics. Well, I guess he took it in stride, and we'll see him in the results section of this episode coming up very shortly. We'll start off with the men's welterweight division. And again, Christian not being able to join us today, sent me a list of all the results. Obviously, I couldn't watch every single match that went on, but here are the results of all the various fights. Pat McCormack out of Great Britain defeated the fighter from Belarus, Radzino. He gave what he had in his first, but McCormack was a little too strong. Obviously, very clever and landed some very good shots. So he's going to go on to fight the winner of the next round, which was Badarov from Uzbekistan versus who defeated Polanco, Dominican Republic. And there, some of the other critics are saying there's some controversy here. Badarov won all 5 cards in the first, and Polanco won all 5 in the second, and then gave Badarov the nod in the decisive third round, which some are saying could have easily gone to Polanco. Anyway, Badarov is going off to fight McCormack. The other 2 fights had Aidan Walsh of Ireland defeating Aisi out of Cameroon. And although Walsh's sister, Michaela, lost to Italy's Testa, she was up in the second level waving the Irish flag for her brother who advances. He wasn't spectacular, but he deserved to advance. And Mervyn Clare out of the Mauritius defeated Ishash out of Jordan. Now, this one was close, and some say that Jordan could have won this one had the voting obviously gone his way, but it didn't. Clare got the first and third rounds narrowly, but Ishash had swept the second. And some are saying they thought Ishash had won the first. So it made it a bit of a controversial decision, a close decision, but nonetheless, no matter how you look at it, Clare will now be fighting Walsh in the welterweights. And in the men's heavyweight, this is where we're coming up to the ear-biting incident. Russia's Muslim Gadzhimagomedov versus, sorry about this pronunciation there, I'm worse than Mike at 4, versus Algeria's Ben Chabla. Gadzhimagomedov won. But the Algerian gave everything he had. Got dropped in the second, but he tried. And didn't get through. After all, you got to think he's going to probably bow out of the Olympics. I mean, he's 34. But he could be back for the Paris 2024 games. He made the quarterfinals in 2008, as well as in 2012 in London, 2016 in Rio, and just falls around short here. It's not going to go his way, but he might be back. That's the loser, Ben Chabla, out of Algeria for the Paris games. Nonetheless, moving on to fight is the Russian of a very long name that I honestly cannot pronounce. To fight Amir Abdul Jabbar out of Germany, who beat Jose Lucar from Peru. And it's a solid performance by Abdul Jabbar, who's actually originally Iraqi born and moved to Germany as a teenager. Lucar made the fight close. He was a bit pesky and made it difficult for Abdul Jabbar in the first couple of rounds, but it was a clear win, who now moves on to face the Russian, which is a big task, everyone agrees. In the other fight, we saw from Belarus a chap by the name of Smaya Laiku, defeating a chap out of Samoa, Plodzitsky Faugali. And Smailuku had to come from behind here, dropping the first round in every card to Plodziki Fagula, and he did deserve it. The Samoan was effective in the first, but the Belarusian uglied it up some from there and got the fight in his range and tempo and went on to win. 4-1 decision. And the fight that made the headlines, the New Zealand fighter Naiki, who defeated the Moroccan Bala. Naika didn't do anything special here and didn't have to, apparently, the way the other critics see this as well. Bala just didn't have the tools to deal with a basic effective attack from the New Zealander, who kept the fight easy for himself with the jab. And anyway, he'll go on to face a much tougher test with the fighter from Belarus. In the women's lightweights competitions, we saw Rebecca Nicoli out of Italy defeat Esmeralda Falcon out of Mexico 4-1. Nicola had this one in the bag since she won the first, which was competitive and cleanly took the second. But Falcon, Mexico's first female Olympic boxer, did not give up and pushed hard in the third, which you have to respect and appreciate. She went for it and made Nicoli work the full 9 minutes. And she'll go on to fight out of Great Britain, Caroline Dubois, who defeated Donjeta Sadiku out of Kosovo, 5-0 by the judges' cards here. Dubois, the sister of pro Daniel Dubois, now moves on to face, now moves on to face United States Rashida Ellis, the sister of pros Rashidi and Ronald Ellis. Dubois was better in every facet here. Sadiku tried to push in the third especially, but a thorough win for the British fighter. The other fight I saw, this one was Sudaporn Sisandi out of Thailand defeat Maria Palacios out of Ecuador. Another fairly one-sided fight, though. Palacios had a solid start in the first round, but she still lost that one, as Sisandi settled in nicely and pretty well took over the contest from there. In the women's welterweight division, we saw Businaz Surmeneli out of Turkey defeat Karolina Kajuaska out of Poland, 5-0. Completely dominant performance, truly one-sided. Surmeneli looked very outstanding here. Looked outstanding here. Every bit someone you'd expect to see it at that top seed. Anna Lysenko of Ukraine defeated Bel Habib out of Morocco. Another one-sided fight because the judges scored at 5-0. Lysenko not quite as dominant, but Surmeneli was totally in control throughout. Bel Habib had a few moments in the third and definitely shouted a lot. Lovlina Borgahain out of India defeated Nadine Apetz out of Germany, 3-2 by the scorecard here. This one was close, but 3 of the 5 judges had clear thoughts, one scoring 3-0 for Apetz, 2 scoring 3-0 for Borgahain, and another 2-1. Borgahain, another 2-1 for Apetz. So it could have gone either way, really, but I thought overall they got it right, and Borgahain was just a hair better for me. In a pretty sloppy fight, the Chinese Taipei fighter Nin Chin Chen defeated Angela Carini out of Italy, 3-2. Ugly fight, everyone agrees. Sloppy, not truly great to watch. Chen, by contrast, has a lousy style, but Carini couldn't do much clean work either way. And this did not mesh at all. This being the last of a 4-hour session, which was pretty rough. Anyway, On to some other divisions. Let's have a quick look here at the men's welterweights. We saw Raniel Iglesias out of Cuba defeats Suwanret's Okazawa out of Japan, 3-2. It's the closest fight we've seen. In fact, 3 of the 5 judges had this 28-28 on the final tally, with the other 2 having 29-27 cards for Okazawa. But the tiebreak went to Iglesias, who also forced a standing 8 on Okazawa in the third. Iglesias, in his 4th Olympics here, had won bronze in 2008 and gold in 2012 as a light welterweight, and had lost in the quarterfinals in 2016 in Rio as a welterweight. He came very close to going out early here, as Okazawa won the first round across the board. But Iglesias got it going a bit in the second and woke up fully in the third. It wasn't a pretty fight. Iglesias has some pretty aspects to his game, floats on his feet. But he's a crafty, rough veteran who knows all the tricks and uses them. And that, combined with Okazawa's energetic aggression, made a fair amount of holding and fouling. But it was a very tense fight, and Okazawa can go home knowing he pushed the top guy to the limit. That brings us to Delonte Johnson out of the United States, who faced, from Kazakhstan, Zuzushupov. Sorry for the pronunciation. But a 4-1 victory. Johnson was a lot better in this one than he was in his first fight in Tokyo, where we all thought he was a bit lucky to get the cards. The Kazakh felt Johnson was lucky to get this one, but I do think Delonte earned the win here. He looked sharper, more confident, was more settled, and moves on to face Iglesias, which is a big task, but the Cuban, while very good, is not invincible. Johnson will definitely have to be at his best, but it's doable, though he'll definitely be the underdog in that fight, and he should be. In the other fight, we saw out of Georgia, Medvedev fighting Ugandan Bwagi, and this was a 3-1-1 decision. In a sense, as competitive as it seems, in another sense, kind of not, because the 3 judges who had it for Medvedev all had it 30-26, which may be generous, but also defensible. Bwagi definitely gave a great effort, and Medvedev just won. And it was his second solid straight win after upsetting Sotomayor out of Azerbaijan in the round of 32. Medvedev moves on to the quarters to face Andrei Zamkavoy out of the Russia Olympic Committee. Let's just say Russia. Who defeated out of Zambia, Steven Zimba, 4-1 decision. Competitive, but the right winner. Zimba did give this a great effort, but Zamkavoy landed the cleaner blows. Zamkavoy is a 3rd-time Olympian who won bronze in London, but was out early in Rio and won gold at the World Championships in 2019. Still competing at a high level at age 34. But this next round against Medvedev could be very interesting, as Medvedev is fighting quite well right now. All right. On to some more heavyweights division and more decisions in the men's heavyweight division. In the afternoon, we saw Hussein Lashish out of Jordan defeat Juliar Castillo out of Ecuador. Not a good fight to watch. Castillo was a 3-time Olympian and out early for the 3rd time. This was just a little ugly and hard to see either of them being big threats, even though Castillo was the number 3 seed. So Ashish goes on to fight Teixeira out of Brazil, who defeated Siobhan Clark out of Great Britain, 4-1. Teixeira trailed after the first, so he had to rally, and it was tight, and it could have gone either way, but not a big controversy. And Teixeira moves on to face Ashish in the quarterfinals. Yulia La Cruz out of Cuba defeated Ali Ocho out of Kenya, 5-0 decision here. Ocho tried, but was out of his depth. The 38 Cuban won the gold at Rio Olympics in 2016 as a light heavyweight, and he's a 4-time world gold medalist as a light heavyweight in that division and won bronze there in 2019. So he moved up. He's not his very best anymore, but he's a strong technician. He's a tough out, and it was a dominant win when defeating the Kenyan. He'll go on to fight Emmanuel Reyes-Pla, who's fighting out of Spain, who defeated Vasily Levitt out of Kazakhstan, and it was a knockout, the first knockout result we've seen here so far. Pla caught Levitt, the 2016 silver medalist, behind the ear with a right hand, popped up again with a good left, and then 2 shots put the Kazakh fighter down. He got up, but was not in great shape, and the referee stopped it. This sets up a potentially fascinating matchup between Reyes Plat, a Cuban expat, and the Cuban La Cruz. In the women's lightweight division, Shi Yi Wu out of Chinese Taipei defeated Agnes Lucian out of Sweden. Lucian arguably got the shaft a bit here, particularly in the second round, but also not at all hard to say Wu won two of the rounds. So life goes on. And even if I thought there was the greatest outrage of all time, life would still go on, at least until it doesn't. Okay, putting a bit of humor into these comments. Mira Potkonen out of Finland defeated Meva Hamaduch out of France, 3-1-1. This is a hugely fun fight to watch. The 40-year-old Potkonen, who eliminated Katie Taylor in Rio and won bronze that year, deserves the win. But the pace of the pro champion Hamaduch, currently with the IBF 130-pound title holder, pushed her to the absolute limit. Potkonen had nothing left in the third and barely survived the round and the fight. I mean, she was just stumbling and holding, poking out enough to keep Hamaduch a little bit at bay sometimes. Hamaduch, by the way, is set to face Michaela Maya in the next pro bout, which should be fun. Hamaduch's aggression is great. She was upset, but the decision, I think, was fair. She definitely dominated the third, but Potkonen won the first two. It's fair. Potkonen's beaten Hamaduch quite a few times in the amateurs now. In the women's welterweight division, Washai Jones out of the United States defeated Bayanda Cruz out of Mexico, 3-2. Cruz could have won this fight, I think. I might have scored it her way, but Jones had an argument too, and she makes it through the quarterfinals. Maria Maranta out of Dominican Republic defeated Miriam De Silva, Canadian, 5-0 decision. Maranta definitely deserved this one, though. She landed some really nice shots along the way and controlled the tempo. She won every round on all four of the cards, and the other one was 2-1. Alessandra Panguana out of Mozambique defeated Elizabeth Akinya out of Kenya by referees. That decision pretty dominant. Panguana clearly won the first, forced a couple of standing eights, and got it stopped about halfway into the second. She was just clearly notably better than Akinya, who was doing her best but wasn't on the same level as Panguana, who had great support from the Mozambique squad on the second level. Honggu out of China defeated Bison Manakon out of Thailand, 5-0. The number 2 seed Gu was just too much for the 19-year-old Manakon, who won in the round of 32. But this is as far as it goes, and this is as far as she goes in Tokyo. I'd expect to see him back in Paris in 3 years, though. There's still a lot for her to build on coming out of this fight. The Gu Panguana quarterfinal should be really good. And that's all the news that we have for you today coming out of Tokyo with respect to the boxing competition. Mary, isn't that great? Says Ray. I see her losing her belt real soon, even if she gets past Hamaduch. Yeah. And watch out for Dubois. Yeah, I agree there, Ray. Dubois is proving her full value for her money. There she is. She's a great fighter. Obviously comes from great fighting nation and great lineage, that Dubois family. All right, boys and girls, I'm on my way to look at some more interesting events that are happening on my television set right now. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining us, because I understand Christian will be back, and he can probably read those names much better than I can anyway. Thanks very much for joining me.